our rich relationship network can be the way in which we achieve our goals and dreams faster. But I think a lot of people don't even know what to ask for help with, right? So maybe they're like, okay, I want to advance in my business, but it's like, what are maybe the top 1 to 3 things, right? Because when you're asking for help and making requests, like you want to be clear on what is really going to move the needle. Is it, could that person endorse my book? Could they make an introduction? Is there an opportunity for a collaboration or for them to share what I'm doing, right? So get clear on like the top things that really move the needle.
Hello, Brave Table fam. Welcome to another episode of The Brave Table. I'm your host, Dr. Neeta, and this is your destination, your oasis to be all things just a little bit more brave in your actions, in your relationships, and in your life. Well, I have a question. Do you know how to build real relationships, real friendships? What is your definition of a friendship that is rich with love, depth, joy, fun, maybe even business? Have you ever considered working with a best friend? Have you found friendships in business? Well, my guest today literally is the queen of building businesses while having rich relationships. She is the queen of this and so much more. And she is actually so good at it that she's written a book about rich relationships. She is my dear sister and friend, and she is somebody who you've actually seen on the podcast before. She is none other than Selena Soo, who is a publicity and marketing expert for visionary entrepreneurs and thought leaders who want to impact millions with their message. Selena has helped her clients and students get featured in leading media like, the Oprah Magazine, Forbes, Business Insider, Elle, and The Drew Barrymore Show. She is the author of the book, Rich Relationships, Create a $1 Million Network for Your Business. Not only has she helped me launch my book, That Sucked Now 2 years ago, but she has gone to help so many others. And I'm so glad she has written all of her secrets in a beautiful book that we are going to nail and talk about today. So in this episode, if you are anybody that has a personal brand, has a business, or is curious about how do I go into a room and build relationships that feel real, if you are an introvert or if you kind of get the social anxiety butterflies when you're going into events or networking events, how to actually connect with people and have a safe place and a safe space, and knowing who to let into your inner circle and who is just perhaps maybe a business transaction. And are those things icky? How do we navigate those feelings? And so much more. I cannot wait. Let us dive in because this one is a super hot ride. So buckle up because this week we are going deep with Selena Soo on the Brave Table. Hello, love.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, we are so glammed up. Look at us.
We are.
Purple and pink if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay, so you picked a card to start our intention.
Yes.
I would love for you to read it.
Okay. I know all the wisdom that I have ever needed has always been within my creative vessel. I am intuitive more than words and always trust my gut. That's so good. That's so good.
Oh, wow, that's really good. Why do you talk about rich relationships so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, for all of us, we have big goals and dreams. And I believe that the fastest way to get from where we are to where we want to be is a rich relationship, right? Rich relationships are like rocket fuel. And a lot of people just don't know how to build these relationships correctly. But the reality is that we're in relationship with people every single day. So I feel like if you can learn to do this skill better, it's really a super skill that will serve you your entire life.
So good. And you are you have been the queen. I mean, having, hundreds of people that affiliate for you and for so many years, a decade of building businesses. Tell us, what do you think people struggle with in building rich relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think first, a lot of people think that they can't have them, whether they think that to have rich relationships, they need to be a social butterfly or a super extrovert. And that can certainly be a part of it, but it's not necessary, right? I identify as being an introvert. Really, I mean, if we just kind of give people the shortcut, the fastest way to build rich relationships is to be really curious about the other person and really tune into what are their goals and their dreams and how can I help them reach their goals and dreams faster. So if you imagine like a busy, influential person being a train and they're on the train tracks, they're going full speed ahead. And they will pause for a few moments to let people onto that train, but then the doors close and then off they go. So a lot of times when people are looking to build relationships with people, they think about what's my agenda? Look at me and all of that. And they're essentially pulling the train off the tracks. But if instead they're like tuning into what the other person needs and wants and they start from there, then there's so much synergy and kind of interest in deepening that relationship because it's connected to the person's goals.
And you talk a lot about, safety and letting people in. And I feel like you do
Yes.
this really well because I know that I'm definitely an extrovert and I
Yeah.
have a lot of different people. And I love and I appreciate what I admire about you most is that you are constantly thinking of innovative ways to add value to other people. And I
Yes.
feel like I've seen this out of you for so many years. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, what I'd love to do is introduce my 6 circles of connection framework. So, I heard someone, Shuri Salata, she used to be the co president of the Oprah Winfrey Network, once say, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. So, I'll just say that again because, like, my jaw dropped to the floor when I heard that. So, maintaining a friendship not rooted in your truth keeps you out of integrity. And I had to take a hard look at myself because this was actually just a couple of years ago. And I was in a place where I had a lot of relationships that weren't the healthiest. And obviously, they never start that way. But sometimes, as you get to know someone, new information is revealed and the dynamic might not be the best. And so, something that's really helped me is thinking about, there can be people in my network, but there are going to be certain people that I let into that inner circle. So, let's think about there being 6 circles. And actually, in Indonesia, I've heard that, at a temple, right, there's these different circles. And the more devout you are, the closer you can get to the inner circle. So it actually has to be earned to get closer. So if we think of 6 circles, circle one are the people that are closest to you, your innermost circle. So for some people, that might be one person, it could be 0 people, it could be 3 people. So this would be someone like your life partner, it could potentially be your business partner, but someone that is on the pulse of what's happening to you on pretty much like a daily type basis or doing life with you, right? And these are the people that are closest that you share absolutely anything with. And then there's circle two. And so this is like your treasured and trusted network of people who maybe you're connecting with them, on a weekly basis, or it could even be monthly. But you know that if you were like, I need help, they would drop everything and they would prioritize you because you're basically like family, right? Like a very, very important relationship. And then there's circle three, which is our larger network of active contacts. These are the people that you would invite to a party, give them a big hug. If they needed support from you, you would do what you could, right, within reason, because they're people that you care about. Then there's circle four. So circle four are people that you keep at an arm's length, right? They might be at the party, or maybe you go to a party and you see them there, but they're not someone that you would take a photo with and make it like your Facebook profile photo. They're not someone that you would do like serious business with, right? Maybe it's someone that you just know, like met recently. And so because they're an acquaintance, they're still circle four, right? Trust hasn't been fully earned. Or maybe it's someone where you're like, there's things I like about this person, but they act out of integrity. There's a values misalignment. I keep on pouring into this person and supporting them, but they never seem to change. And you can still care about them, but there is a little bit of a distance there. That's circle four. And then circle five are people, I mean, the easiest way to say it is like, they're kind of like dead to you. It's like, this person has betrayed me. They're dangerous. Or maybe they have been dangerous to your friends. Maybe there's someone that loves to like sue people and create drama. And it's just like, oh yeah, I definitely don't want to, be in the same room with them, don't want to do business with them. And usually this is a very small circle, but sometimes people, because of their behavior, they basically put themselves in circle five.
Okay.
And then the last circle, circle six, are people that you haven't met yet. Maybe they know of you, but there isn't actually an active relationship.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So currently, right now, we have a loneliness epidemic. 1 in 3 Americans reports being lonely. This is a Cigna study. And nearly half of them, so 47% of them, report that they lack meaningful personal relationships.
Yes.
And with this framework, this is a beautiful framework because this can kind of give people a way to not only categorize their current relationships, but also maybe even build these connections
Right.
on
They can be
purpose.
intentional and on purpose. Maybe it's like, okay, I have a lot of like circle 3 and some circle 4s, but I don't really have like my circle 2, or there's no one in my circle 1. But it is
Most people
dangerous.
will say they only can count on one hand how many people are in probably their in from your framework.
Yeah.
Circle 1 and or 2,
Yeah.
which
No,
is wild.
but there's a lot of people that honestly have 0 people
Mhm.
in their circle 1 because they don't have like a true bestie. Maybe they don't have a life partner. So there could be 0. And circle 2 is still very, very close. You're not just actively doing life on the regular. And so, yeah, if you notice that there's no one in your circle 1 or circle 2, you'll want to take steps to create that. It's also, it puts yourself in a vulnerable position if you only have like 1 or 2 people in 1 and 2, because what happens if, the person moves or something changes or they leave, whatever it is, then you're like, then you don't have anyone, then it can be like so catastrophic. So it is good to have multiple relationships. I also think that, there's many different types of rich relationships. One type is the role of the confidant. And so often with our very close friends, our business besties, we do serve as confidants to one another. And yeah, these are people that you can like be your messy self with. And I find that, part of attracting more rich relationships is being the kind of person where people can be in rich relationship with you. So for example, I know people and I understand like, but they kind of put on a show. They don't want to show vulnerability. There's like this pretentiousness in part because they don't want people to see that they're scared, that they're struggling. I know for myself, I've had lots of ups and downs in my business and with my close friends, circle 1, 2, and even 3. Like, I don't hide. I'm like, I'm struggling right now. This launch didn't go well. This really crappy thing happened to me. That sucked. Now what? Like, I'm really willing to like share that with people. But I find that if people are really closed off and won't let people in and won't be vulnerable, it will be very hard to create circle 1 and 2 relationships and even potentially circle 3.
So what you're saying is let people in.
Yeah.
And what are some examples, perhaps maybe you also share this in the book, about creating safety for other people? Especially, I know as introverts, I have many introverts in my life. I'm married to one. It's, they don't open up until they feel safe for majority of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's so much to say. I would say even a couple years ago, when it came to relationships, I didn't always feel safe, in part because I was not a safe person for myself, right? So the reason why I wasn't a safe person for myself is that sometimes I had those rose-colored glasses on and I would get excited. And, when you meet someone right away and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my new business bestie. But it's like if you only had like one conversation or like 2 or 3 interactions, even though there's a lot of amazing potential, you don't truly know that person. I mean, how many times have we all been in situations where we thought we knew someone and then we started getting a lot closer to them? Maybe we did business, collaborated with them, and maybe 3 months or 4 months in, it's like, oh, wow, there's this whole other layer that I didn't see. Oh my gosh, their trauma is coming out. Okay, they're so fun, but they're not reliable. Or, hey, I'm noticing that their words don't match their actions, right? So a part of creating safety is giving relationships time. And sometimes when we're just too welcoming and open arms and we just love them and let them into the inner circle, then once they're deep inside, it's like a little bit hard to like get them out, because the reality is almost everyone has like redeeming, beautiful qualities. Otherwise, you'd have never let them in into the first place. But it is important to see the different dimensions of someone before you really let them into the innermost circles. And so a way that I've created safety for myself, as well as, how others can, is like understand that it takes time. And you can be excited, but also know that, if I just met someone, a week ago, we're not going to plan like a vacay together. I'm not going to let her into my inner circle of business contacts. We're not going to set up a strategic partnership right away. Someone could be like, oh, I do this amazing thing. And you're like, oh, great. Like I could send people to you. But you don't know if you haven't experienced the work, if you don't know the person's follow through. There's just so many other things to consider. So I think my biggest piece of advice to create safety is to give relationships time so that people can fully reveal themselves to you.
Oh, yes. I think Ileana Van Zant said, when somebody shows you who they really are, believe them.
Yeah.
And that's something that, when you learn, you can't unlearn. When you know, you can't unknow. And that's kind of
Mm.
stuck with me so much. This past year, I've been navigating through, different like friendship breakups, misalignments. And, I think because, I know you as well,
Mhm.
we're both Cancerians, July
Yes.
babies. And so out of the zodiac, those of you who are not so privy to astrology, we really are the nurturers, the mama bears, and ones
Yeah.
that are literally the most lovable sign outside of Libras, because we are, Libras
Mm.
are definitely the relationship ones, but we definitely are like, we want to create and we only love and pour into that inner circle. And that's really important for us.
Yeah.
And so, but I think to your point, you do this
Hmm.
so well of taking the time it's to take. And I feel like I've learned a lot of that from you in terms of, all right, not everyone gets into the inner circle.
Mhm.
And, to your point, I think I've had to learn, all right, you're right, there are layers.
Yes.
And there becomes even more layers, especially for you mamas who also have children and you also have other, like you have family and things like that. And then those layers get into the mix where you don't have as much time open for
Mm.
newer people into your life because then you have to have the ones where like the
Yeah.
mom friends and then the friends of the kids that perhaps, you don't really want to hang out. But then maybe there is that one person that you're like, oh my gosh, I think we could definitely do business together. And
Yeah.
so what you talk a lot about in the book how to activate your rich relationship network. And I know a lot of us
Mhm.
are tuning into, okay, I want to get out there more, or maybe I need to get out there. Is it going to sound awkward for me to reach out and say, can somebody support me on my business? You do this so well and you have such a beautiful way of
Hmm.
activating people.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, our rich relationship network can be the way in which we achieve our goals and dreams faster. But the thing that, so there's a couple of things. One is I think a lot of people don't even know what to ask for help with, right? So maybe they're like, okay, I want to advance in my business, but it's like, what are maybe the top 1 to 3 things, right? Because when you're asking for help and making requests, like you want to be clear on what is really going to move the needle. Is it could that person endorse my book? Could they make an introduction? Is there an opportunity for a collaboration or for them to
Mhm.
share what I'm doing, right? So get clear on like the top things that really move the needle. Now, the other thing when I'm approaching someone and making an ask, so I assume that 2 things are happening. One is that people want to say yes, right? They want to say yes to someone that they care about, but simultaneously, there's also a part of them that feels inclined to say no because the reality is that most people are maxed out. They usually don't have like all this empty time to just, take on additional things. And so, in a way, for a lot of people, like perhaps even 90% of the time, they would just have to say no to all the incoming requests because it's impossible to say yes to everything.
Mhm.
So, people want to say yes, but they feel inclined to say no. So, how can you really position something to make it a win win? Right? How do you position it so it's like as easy as possible, right? So, just to use like a simple example, let's say you want to get a testimonial from someone who is familiar with your work, right? Rather than just saying, hey, can you give me a testimonial? Instead, you would say something like, hey, I've loved working with you so much. I've loved sharing my work with you, and I'm updating my website. I was wondering if you would be open to sharing a 1 to 2 sentence testimonial with me. If it's easier for you, I can put together some sample copy and ideas that you can tweak. Just let me know, what would be best for you. But also adding in something that like, and if, you're not able to do this at this time, all good. Like, thank you for considering. You never want to, your like request to feel like demands. You kind of want them to feel light and give people an easy out while simultaneously making it very easy for them to say yes.
Well, on that note, how do we navigate boundaries? Because I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of times when you are trying to build this, rich relationship, and I know in the book you talk a lot about, certain tools and practices and strategies.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if we are doing this new for the very first time, our
Sure.
boundaries are going to be so open. Like, all right, sure, I'll help.
Yeah.
I'll help everyone. Or I don't know how to
Mm.
decipher when to say no, or that if
So
I have
good.
bandwidth or
Ugh.
not. Let's dive into
Oh
that.
my gosh, this is like the best question because I think also people are afraid to say no because they're like, if I say no to someone I care about, what if they don't like me? What if they don't show up for me? And what a lot of people do is they just ghost. Um, and I think that there are times in communication where a delayed response or even not responding can be appropriate, but most of the time that's not the appropriate response. So for me, I feel like one of the reasons why I'm really comfortable at making asks is because I'm also personally comfortable in saying no to people. And I'm also really comfortable in accepting a no from someone. I just like to keep it clean. If someone like asks me for something and I don't want to do it, I just say no in a nice way. Because I think that actually when you overextend yourself and you're like in your heart, you don't want to do this, it doesn't work with your schedule, your bandwidth, it creates emotional turmoil for you to do this thing that's just not aligned.
Or maybe you feel resentful because you did do
Then you
it.
feel
And then,
resentful, and then that actually harms the relationship. But
mm,
then if you're not communicating that and you're just saying like, yes, 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 but deep down you're angry, you're resentful, then you're actually not a safe person for someone to be in relationship with. And you think like, oh my gosh, I'm like this big giver. I do so much for others, but actually you're not being safe because you're not being true to yourself.
mhm.
Right. And the other person's like, oh, well, she said yes, so amazing. But if they knew that they were harming the relationship, they would probably actually want you to say no. So whenever I make a request, I don't want people to say yes out of obligation or it's like a favor, unless I say like, hey, like I need a favor from you. Like this, I consider a favor and it would mean so much to me if you could consider it. But in general, with most requests, if it doesn't feel in alignment for that person, it's really best. And I would hope that they would all say no, just as I would say no to something that's not aligned for me.
Ooh, yeah. I know that a lot of times people struggle with this. Can you give us an example of
Yeah.
maybe turning down a request, like a polite no?
Yeah. Okay. So let's say someone, I'm just making up an
Yeah.
example, but someone like invites me to a summit and they're like really excited about it. But like, maybe I don't want to do a summit and I don't want to do all the required mailings and social poses and the gifts and it's
It's
just
a
like
lot.
not my thing, but it could be great for someone else. I might say something like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you have this summit happening. Thank you for thinking of me. A part of me wants to say yes, but I also realize I have to say no because I'm just not doing summits in this season of life right now. I'm wishing you all the best and I'm cheering you on.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you say no, you could also offer an alternative, like this isn't a fit for me, but I'm happy to recommend people. Or you could just say like I can't do this. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of different ways to say no, but I think first it's like, showing like starting off on a warm and friendly note, congratulating them, maybe saying thank you for the opportunity, but ultimately saying you're not able to do this and perhaps giving a reason if you want. And then also ending it again on a warm and friendly note.
Have you experienced any moments in building your rich relationship network and having these rich relationships where perhaps you were doing all of the right things, but then you recognize something, there was a conflict, there was something that happened that tore this relationship. Do you then let that person back into your life? How did that taint you? How did that change you? How did that change the relationship?
Yeah, there's like a couple
Is there
of things.
forgiveness? Is
Yeah,
there
is there
forgiveness involved?
forgiveness? So there's like different things that come to mind for me. I'm thinking about, I was on the podcast last talking about the emotionally abusive relationship that I was in and how I left it.
We will link that one in the show notes for everybody who did not see or watch Selena's really powerful episode, because I think that was the first time you actually opened up for the
Yeah.
first time on,
Yeah.
I mean, it was on the Brave Table.
Yeah. So this story I've actually never shared publicly before. This one I'm going to share now because this person's also, in my community and network. But I'll share it here because I just feel compelled to. So when I was like leaving that emotionally abusive situation, I was sharing a cat with that person. And so, I was traveling and then I was going to fly back to New York and I was going to deliver the cat back because, my cat like hides under the bed, like he's afraid of strangers. And so I was going to do that. And this person she was doing this in the spirit of like wanting to support me, but she said, Selena, like if you see him again, like, essentially she said that we couldn't be friends. Her whole thing was like, me and my partner, we're only in relationship with like evolved people, and was basically saying like, if you do this thing, like your relationship with us is over. And I might not be representing it exactly right, but it was essentially what she was saying, right? And so I think that sometimes like we want to care for people, so we try to tell them what to do. But for me, I was already being like controlled by someone. I didn't need like a friend or acquaintance to try to control me and my behavior. We just have to be on our own journey. So I think that sometimes, we're in different places. I mean, in a way, that wasn't bad advice, but I think threatening our friendship in the context of wanting the best for me, it kind of like left not the best feeling for me. And I just kind of shut down from that person. Whereas my friends are like, hey, like, you know, I'm here to support you no matter what decision you make, whether you go back to him, whether you see him again, like I'm here for you unconditionally. Those are the friends that I was like, okay, great. Because then I can be my full self with them. And the other thing to realize is, yeah, I mean, and maybe I wasn't as like emotionally developed then, but I think that we're all on our journeys. So I think when people feel controlled or reprimanded for being where they are on the journey, like it kind of creates a shutdown. So that's one thing to consider. And the other thing is that we have blind spots, right? So sometimes just words come out of our mouth or our tone might trigger someone because they have such deep woundings that have like developed and grown over multiple decades. And so we have to have those important conversations. I know you call them clearing conversations, which I love. Sherry Salata, again, had said to me, like, we don't want to call it like a difficult conversation, a tough conversation, an uncomfortable. We can call it an important conversation, right? Because it's like, you're so important to me that I need to have this important conversation. But if we use all those negative words, like nobody's like running to have like a tough, uncomfortable conversation.
Because it's already awkward to have one anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call them brave conversations now.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it is brave.
Yeah, I love
It's
that. Brave.
And you are feeling uncomfortable to bring something that is feeling weird and icky. And it's honestly making you feel uncomfortable as well to bring it up. But I think we only bring those up because we love and care about the other person.
Right. So,
like if you didn't care about that person, it could be so easy to just complete the connection and move on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it also depends on the nature of the relationship. Like if someone's an acquaintance, they shouldn't be like pushing on you so hard, right? Or trying to tell you what to do or control. I think if someone's a very close friend, there's also a piece where, so these are nuanced things, right? It's not black and white. Like, let's say if my bestie was dating someone and I noticed like controlling and abusive behaviors, I might share something with her and not like control her in that like, oh, if you keep dating him, I can't be your friend. But I might say like, hey, like I'm just noticing some things and can I share them with you? Get that permission. But I think it also takes bravery and courage to point blind spots out. And it depends on the person. Like for me, I want my friends to point my blind spots out. But also some people, they can't take it. And some people aren't able to receive feedback. I know for me, if you're in my circle 1 or 2, you have to be able to receive feedback. And it always comes from a loving place. But if we like can't have a conversation, I have to hide things from you that I'm witnessing. Then it's just like really hard to show up as that true friend.
Right. And you're walking on eggshells because you're afraid that you're going to be misunderstood by that person. And that person then shouldn't be in your 1 or 2.
Right. Well, they have to understand, like, even if it's hurtful, it's like, okay, this is coming from a place of love and like, what's the truth in there? So it's like, I mean, friendship and like relationships, this is hard stuff, but you need to have like strong personal development, right? And EQ skills in order to be successful and have these rich relationships.
Oh, 1000%. I mean, there is this beautiful quote that Vex King he's such a genius at this, but he talks about how self-care can also mean spending less time with those people who are emotionally exhausting and are committed to muting you or misunderstanding you.
Yeah, I had a friend who was constantly like, misunderstanding me, putting me down, all these negative comments, and I just had to like cut off the relationship. It just wasn't healthy.
So you think it is important to clear and close off?
It's so rare that you have to move someone into a circle 5. Usually that's like the last resort where you've had like multiple conversations again and again, but nothing ever changes. Like you try your best, but this person keeps creating harm, or maybe you create harm for each other. And it's just like, it just hurts too much to be in relationship with this person. Like they have to be moved to circle 5.
You've dropped so many incredible gems with this book. And I mean, I'm just so excited because, when we talk about building rich relationships or creating rich relationships, there's not really a framework for this. And I feel like you're gifting people a way
Yeah.
that they can now implement this in their life. Do you think that people should rate their current friendships like while they're going through the elements of the book? What's the best way to navigate that?
Yeah. I mean, the reality is we all know hundreds, if not several hundred people. So you don't have to necessarily like rate each person, but I think it's good to know, like, taking a moment to do an inventory check. Who's in my circle 1 and 2? Because these are the people that will always be there for me. Right. There's so much in the book. Another section of the book is really looking at yourself and what do you need to personally work on to draw more rich relationships to you, right? Because we all have our somewhat bad qualities, like whatever it is, whether we try to control situations too much, or maybe we're flaky, or maybe we're critical, or maybe, whatever it is, or maybe we're someone that's just so busy that like we don't have much bandwidth in our lives. And if we don't have bandwidth, we can't really be in like rich relationship. If we're in a place where we have a short fuse, everything feels overwhelming, we're on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which can happen to all of us at different points, but that really makes it difficult to have those rich relationships. So a part of rich relationship is a self-care piece, and it's also the time management piece. I also say that one rich relationship is more powerful than 100 casual connections, right? A circle 1 or a circle 2, that's like your ride and die. Whatever you need, I will prioritize you. I will fly across the world to be there with you during your darkest hours. I will pick up the phone at any hour.
Not a lot of people fly across the world to be with you.
Yeah,
They
one
say
or two.
they will. Only a few will, for sure.
Yeah. We need to have those in our life.
Yeah. What about those that travel with you?
Oh, those that travel. I mean, they have to at least be circle 3 to be able to travel with you.
Okay, so you would prioritize that as a circle 3.
That would be a circle 3. Like a circle 3, you could be like, oh, hey, can I stay at your place while I'm in town? But if they were circle 4, you'd probably be like, I'd rather not. It's like a little too like physically close.
Yeah. This is such a good framework. I love this so much. Okay. You have, before we let you go, you have some incredible gifts
Yes,
for
I do.
our guests. And because this is the Brave Table, we talk about having these brave relationships and rich relationships. So what do you have in store for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to richrelationshipsbook.com/brave to get their free gifts. So I'm basically giving away the first 4 chapters of the book for free.
Oh,
So
4 chapters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really generous.
Yeah. So they can just download that. And of course, if they want to get the full book, they can buy that later. But they'll get
You
the
guys
first
will
4.
have to get the full
The full book.
The full book. Come on, you guys.
But you'll have like a good taste of the book. And then I'm also giving them my rich relationship scripts that I've used to build, like 8 figures worth of wealth at this point, from everything from how to ask for testimonials, how to get referral partners, affiliates, all kinds of support, outreach to the media. So I have like my rich relationship scripts that are for free.
Oh my gosh.
And then I also have a little mini video training about how we can take the ideas in the book and put them into action in your life. So they can go ahead and get that at richrelationshipsbook.com/brave.
Okay, /brave. And we will put this in the show notes as well, because I think everything that you speak about is so juicy. And even in the way that you've helped people get media and training and publicity over the course of years, it comes from having those rich relationships.
And knowing how to make the right ask. Because sometimes you're pitching people in the media and you might not know who they are, but you need to know how to phrase things. So that's what the rich relationship scripts are all about. You get all the phrasing.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a section called Spill the Chai.
Spill the chai.
Yeah.
So fun.
So you can answer this as quick as you want, fast as you want.
Okay.
Favorite morning routine?
My favorite morning routine is going on a nature walk. I live right by this beautiful park, and yeah, I just love being in nature. It fuels my soul.
When you are having a rich relationship gathering, what is the number one thing that you look for when you have like either a Zoom meeting or in-person meeting? Is it a question prompt that you ask? Is it an activity that you do? Is it a grounding thing that you do? What is one thing that you do?
I mean, if it's in person, I always make sure that there's good food because then it just brings like a joy and
That's
smile to
like an
someone's face.
Asian thing.
I think it's very
That's Asian
important.
hospitality for sure.
Yeah, like if I go to an event and there's no food or the food is really bad, it does affect my overall experience.
Will they go from like a 1 to a 3?
No, they won't go from a 1 to a 3, but I'll be like, "Oh, what a bummer." So I think food is really important, but I host, rich relationships mixers. And, for me, it's having a clear agenda. I don't like to waste people's time. And I think a lot of times people will gather people, but there's no purpose, there's no agenda, nobody knows like, who is who, like, and it just creates confusion. So I think having a little bit of structure to facilitate a really rich conversation is important.
So good. What are you braving right now?
What am I braving? Gosh, I would say that like I am just honestly more comfortable behind the scenes and being in the spotlight, which is like interesting because I create a program called Impacting Millions, but it was more that like I'm excited to help other amazing people get into the spotlight. And I also recognize that for me, it's important to get my message out there. So I know with the book, there's going to be a lot more opportunities. And I think that we can all have that voice in our head where it's like, am I ready for this? And so my word for the upcoming year is ready. Like I've been doing this training for like a decade plus. I've been practicing rich relationships for 2 decades plus. Like I am ready for all the opportunities that come my way.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. Selena Soo, you are the queen at rich relationships. I'm so excited for your book to come out.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Where can everyone get the book and connect with you and see everything behind the scenes on your journey?
Yeah, just go to richrelationships.com/book because they'll get all the details. They can get the first 4 chapters and all the gifts for free. And then on the thank you page, there'll also be details if they want to purchase a copy, learn more, get plugged in. It's all there at richrelationships.com. No, richrelationshipsbook.com/brave.
Got it. So we will put that all in the show notes. Thank you so much for your wisdom, love. And I'm so excited to see you finally shine because this has been a long time coming.
Yes, definitely.
All right, loves, welcome back to the other side. Isn't she adorable? Oh my goodness. She is literally the queen and she has helped me in so many ways. And this is how you can actually be in your relationship network. And I love the point that she shared about needing to do the work on yourself first, because oftentimes we miss and we think and we project, oh, it's the other person, or I keep attracting friends that are betraying me, or maybe they don't want to get close to me, but maybe we didn't realize that maybe we aren't a safe person to be around. And what does that even look like? So, and not only that, she also is giving you so much valuable goodies. So you definitely want to go to richrelationshipsbook.com/brave. We have linked 3 additional episodes on building your brand, creating your incredible network. So if you are a business owner, if you are curious about starting your next venture, or maybe even creating more meaningful relationships, there's 3 additional episodes linked below for you here. And you can connect with Selena on Instagram as well. I've linked her IG in the show notes as well. And if you are watching this on YouTube and not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Click that button. It helps us grow the show more than you know. And I'm so, so thankful and honored that you choose to be here week after week. And drop us a comment. What did you love about the episode? Tag myself at Neeta Bhushan, tag Selena, tag the Brave Table. We want to hear, what was your favorite takeaway? What did you learn about maybe a different perspective about yourself or others? And also share this with friends, family members, coworkers, anybody that needs to be more brave in their relationships. And as always, I will see you next time. Don't forget to be just a little bit more brave. You know I've got so much more in store for you. So if you are really ready to dive in and keep owning your emotions like the boss that you are, click right here. Go ahead, don't be shy. I'll see you in the next one. Keep shining.